Are you a 9 to 5er that's looking to start buying a rental property and you're trying to figure out where the pitfalls are or what you should be on the lookout for? Well, look no further. In this video, we'll cover 5 common mistakes I see new real estate investors make. Lots of them I have also made and have learned through trial and error, so you can learn from my mistakes as well. And so my name is Dustin Boudreaux. Over the last few years, I've bought over 100 rental properties and done a lot of transactions. And as I mentioned, made a lot of the mistakes that we're going to talk about today. So if you're new to getting started, this will hopefully help you not make some of these big mistakes and get yourself on a faster path to success of buying your first rental or your next rental property. So let's get into it. First and foremost, overestimating rental income. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes you can make because the total income on a rental property that you have in mind when buying a property really starts all of the other things as far as expenses, calculations, what your profit's going to be, all of those items. So the worst thing that you can do, give you an example. Let's say you're going to buy a rental property and you anticipate the rent to be $1,000 a month, only to find out the actual market rent is $800 a month and you overshot by $200. This can drastically throw off your numbers as far as not just profit, but your mortgage payments, income, and even having to put money into the property every month instead of it making a profit that you expected it to do. So my word of caution is whatever you think the market value is for rent when you're analyzing a property, maybe come in just a little bit less to have conservative numbers. And come to find out, if you go to rent it and you can get more, well, that'll be bonus and you'll be in a better position than if you overestimate your rental income. Number 2 is underestimating expenses. I know it can seem really cool to try to get in a process of where you're not factor in all of the things because you're excited about a deal, but again, you're only hurting yourself in this matter. So underestimating things like what the repairs and maintenance will be, what the call out fees will be, what it's going to cost to fix different things that you may not be thinking about. And also one of the things with underestimating expenses really has to do with the age of the property. So if you're buying a turnkey brand new rental property, you probably don't have a ton of expenses that you have to factor in each month. However, if you're buying a much older property, you should anticipate a higher maintenance budget. You should experience maybe like hot water heaters or AC units going out on a more frequent basis because, again, it's an older property. So those are some of the things to keep in mind when it comes to expenses. Here, again, it will serve you well to be very conservative and overestimate what you think expenses should be. And if they come in less from month to month, well, that's also a really great thing. Number 3 on the most common mistakes I see folks make is when it comes to actually marketing and renting out the property. And this would be not screening tenants thoroughly enough. It can be exciting when you have a new rental, and it can also be very stressful if you have a property that's just sitting there not making rent and you have to pay these mortgage payments every month. So you can be tempted to get somebody in the rental just to have somebody there to start paying rent. But if you don't take the time to screen somebody, this can be a much worse situation if you, aside from just waiting for somebody to fill the property that's right for it. What I mean by this is if you don't take the time to thoroughly screen someone, they can not have the finances they need, not make the income that they need at the job. They could have previous landlords that kicked them out of the property for not paying rent, destroying their property, all sorts of things. So if you can take the time to screen them thoroughly, do a background check, find out where they work, verify the income that they make, get references where they lived prior to you, and ask how their experience was living with them, you are much more likely to get somebody that's going to take care of your property, pay rent on time, and not have a disaster when they decide to move out or be kicked out if they don't pay rent or follow your rules and guidelines. Number 4 is this comes whenever you're financing the property. This is over leveraging yourself with debt. One of the biggest payments, or probably the biggest expenses that you have on a month-to-month basis if you use bank financing, is the mortgage payment. So the principal and interest that you're going to pay back to the bank. If you over leverage yourself, you leave very little room for profitability and cash flow, and also less room if something should go wrong, where you have an unexpected maintenance call out, or you have to replace a hot water heater or a refrigerator or something of that nature. And so understanding your your loan to value and what your obligation is to the bank is very important, because you want to leave enough skin in the game where you're not sending all of your rent each month to the bank for the mortgage payment. And finally, number 5, this is definitely one that I learned from early on in my investing career, is not keeping good books or poor bookkeeping. When I first got started, I tried to do all of this stuff myself, which it started off great, but then quickly I was too busy and overwhelmed with all other aspects of the business and my full-time job and my career, where some of this stuff fell by the wayside and didn't have the greatest bookkeeping. This will surely become a nightmare when it comes time to filing taxes and doing all of the things that you need to do on a yearly basis. And furthermore, not keeping good books will do you a disservice when it comes to making really good business financial decisions on what properties are doing well, what are not doing well, where improvements need to be made, what you may need to sell if they're not performing at the level that you were expecting them to. All of these things can be made better with really good bookkeeping. One of the things that I did was hire some bookkeepers for the business, and it was probably hands down one of the best decisions I made as a real estate investor. They are very good at what they do. They are on top of the books. They can send me P&Ls and anything that I need for the business each and every month. And also when it gets time to file taxes, all of the stuff is done throughout the year, so it's not a scramble at the end of the year or the beginning first couple months to get all of this stuff done to be able to give to my CPA. So highly recommend bookkeepers, or making sure you stay on top of this. That way you have good books. And oh, by the way, having a good system. I use QuickBooks personally, but finding some sort of technology that can house all of this stuff and have good reporting will serve you well also. And so those are the top 5 mistakes I see folks make: overestimating rental income, underestimating expenses, not screening tenants enough, over leveraging the debt that you owe to the bank, and then poor bookkeeping. So if you look out for all 5 of these and don't make these mistakes as a new investor, you'll be light years ahead of most and be on the fast track to not only success, but maybe even buying more rental property than you thought in a much quicker time frame. So if you've enjoyed this, consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. Each and every week, I talk about buying rental property as someone with a full-time job, aka a 9-to-5er, and how you can make all of those things work to create a new income stream for yourself and some major wealth for your family. So I appreciate you watching this video. This one is a wrap. Bye for now.